A very good afternoon, everybody. I hope I'm able to call upon everybody to come and take those seats here because this is going to be a very interesting conversation, a very unusual. In fact, such type of discussions are seldom done. So this is one of the most very important aspects we will be touching upon. So welcome once again, the cinematic confluence, Northeast and Malayalam films, shaping mainstream cinema. So that would be the panel topic on which we will be discussing. Latha Menon, Shahnab, Haobam, Mr. Radhakrishnan sir and Parthajit. All of us will be there for our conversation since they have been introduced. If we want at any point of time, we want to introduce them, they can start. But let's just start with the conversation first. So I hope everybody is settled down here. So let's start with the conversations. Welcome once again. Latha, let me start with you. You have actually worked in Tamil and Malayalam both, right? So tell me something. How do you?
Yeah.
So how? It's okay. So how do you see the journey of Malayalam cinema in totality till date?
Thanks, Asha, for introducing. Thanks to AalekhFoundation and Anant Samagam and the Cinematic Confluence. Thanks to my co-panelists and the audience for being here. Post-independence, India was keenly looking for a cinematic identity, and similarly in Kerala, what was happening is, because of lack of opportunities to work, people were moving out of their home state. They were all moving outside for work. People would even say you'll find a Malayali in the moon making chaya, tea, because Malayalis were everywhere outside their home state, and you still have Malayalis everywhere. At the 60s, I would say, when Sajid Ray was making his Charulata, Ramu Kariyat came out with Chemin, 1965, exactly the same time when even the Film Society was set up in Kerala. So, we've had a kind of a genesis of film society very early on, like right from 1965. And after which, I remember my father, that was in the same period, he got into the Indian Railways, which was also the leitmotif of Megha Katara, inspired all of us. We all studied about it when I was doing my course in Sophia's. All these greats, and in my career, while I was working with Mr. Mani Ratnam in Dil Se and all that, all these directors, Dil Se, many. I mean, we of course, I will come to Malayalam cinema, but I just want to give a run up. In Dil Se, what happens is, there was a positive in the sense of the casting of Manisha Koirala. There were positives to that. And we did a lot of research on the politics of the region, and we are on all other details. I know there are many critics to it, but one must remember, when filmmakers are trying to make films in regions that are, which have a history of repression and marginalization, they have to keep their eyes open to more important and complicated nuances rather than just black and white binaries, and especially when you're narrativizing subjects in the deep southwest, which is Kerala, and the far northeast, there are no clear answers. And Kerala has literally grown with literary and social movements because of people moving, churning and going out, which is how our narratives came about. It was more literary and social. Mythology really didn't take a place. People didn't enjoy that because they were big budgets, and Kerala really didn't have money for making such big budgeted films, which is why Kerala has always remained because it's also a communist state. It still is a communist state. That kind of dictates, and the demography, I must touch upon the demography, largely because 55% is Hindus, you have 27% of Muslims, and you have 18% of Christians. So the demography also dictates the kind of films that are being made. So you can't make largely religious films like you can do in some other places, because the audience will reject it immediately. It has to have a different coloring. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's introduce the Northeast cinema through Parthajit. Parthajit, you are an authority, you are a historian. A recent book is coming wherein he is putting up all the Northeast cinema, its history and everything. So I think you will be the best person to introduce the Northeast cinema. Would you like to do that?
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank Alek Foundation and Cinemazzi for organizing such a beautiful seminar on a topic usually people ignore, and the bridging the gap between Northeast and Kerala or Malayalam cinema seems to be unconventional, and breaking the stereotypes is a part of Cinemazzi and Alek Foundation. Thank you for that. Coming back to the Northeast cinema, I would like to say, long way back, one of my friend was very proud to say that his documentary was selected at MIF in Mumbai. After screening his film, people in my state, Assam, they were so happy, and his name was there on the newspaper. After screening the film at the MIF, he came back and he slowly whispered in my ear, saying that, "Do you know Parthajit?" I said, "What?" "There are only 5 people who watched my film in the auditorium." But he said he was happy. It's because the 5 people were really interested. So I would like to say the organizer, that though there are not very much a large number of viewers, but the viewers, the audience here who will and who are interested to listen to us, I'm happy with that. It is not the number, it's the quality that matters. Coming back to the point, your point, Northeast cinema is always looked at as exotic cinema that is normally connected with insurgency area, always underdeveloped. That is basically the basic notion. But people have no knowledge and understanding that the 8 states have their own history, culture, and their own identity. I'm just giving you one example. In 1991, at IFI, there was a conference, and for the filmmakers was Haobam Sharma from Manipur, Janu Baruah from Assam, Bhabenanath Soikia from Assam. They had a press conference, they organized it, directors from the Northeast. Then the 3 filmmakers, they objected, saying that we are not going to sit together at a press conference because we are not having them the same cultural identity, political identity. And therefore, everyone need to be addressed separately. Janu Baruah and Bhabenanath Soikia sir came out of the press meet. Haobam Sharma came out of the press meet. This is what exactly people hear. When there is conflict in Manipur between Meiteis and Kuki, it is heard by people here in Delhi. When Haobam Sharma's film was screened at Cannes Film Festival in 1991, it was not an Indian film. It was called a Manipuri film. That is the stereotypical notion still we have. Again, I like to thank, because this is the way means the way we are now conversing has to break the stereotypical notion of the people who are looking at Northeast as an area of insurgency. We have a lot of local story. Recently, my friend Paban Kumar has made one film called Joseph's Son. It is about the ethnic conflict. But people could not understand because he did not show a single violence and conflict. This is the same film, we can say, I think most of you have watched the film, The Zone of Interest. There was no any violence. Still we feel the violence. There was no violence in his film, Joseph's Son. Still we could feel, we people from our region could feel, but people out of the Northeast, geographic Northeast, couldn't understand because they want to see the violence in the film. Recently, again, Pradip Kurba from Meghalaya, he made one film called Ludo, the market. It won Best Film Award at Busan Film Festival. This is not all about insurgency. It's about the human story. So I think people who are staying in the Northeast, geographical Northeast, that is the inside perspective, and people living out of the Northeast, that is called outsider gaze. And my book, which is there in the standee, will try to deconstruct the stereotypical notion of the outside gaze. This is my way through my book and through my film. This is, yes.
I completely agree with that. What I was actually wanted you also to tell us, our audience, is with regard to the number of languages, this diversity we have in Northeast, the amount of regional and I agree that Northeast is not one group of state because it has a lot of information in each and every state. They have lot of ethnical groups which have their own stories to tell, and these stories actually they come up with different languages, so which is very interesting to understand that in the Northeast region itself the number of languages people are making films are like more than 20 film languages people are making films, and they belong to each and every ethnic group, which is a very interesting part of the whole films which they are coming up. And of course, Sir Radhakrishnan sir, I would like to call upon at this point of time that how do you draw a parallel between the Northeastern cinema and the Kerala cinema or Malayalam cinema? What is that parallel which you like to draw between these two states, these two cinemas?
Coming to the cinema in Kerala, much before the arrival of the cinema, the screen, that is item was there, Tol Pavakuth. Tol Pavakuth means it is a shadow will be shown on the screen, and that will be shown, and this used to be there much before the arrival of cinema. So this is the beginning, and the cinema came. The first cinema started in 1928. That was by J.C. Daniel, that is Vigitha Kumaran. It was a silent movie, and because of certain problems, he could not screen the film and became a big loss, and he finished got away from the film industry itself. Then in 1933, one film was made, Marthandavarma. That was based on the C.V. Raman Pillai's novel by Sundar Rajan. Unfortunately, that film also could not come into the light because of certain litigation by the authors group and this thing. But luckily, after a few years, now recently, the NFAI has restored that Marthandavarma, and now it is available. Though that is a silent movie, but they have added some words and this thing. So it is available. It is now about 16 to 20 minutes film. It is available now. They have preserved it.
I wanted to touch upon the parallels.
I'm coming
yeah.
Then comes the cinema that Balan in 1938. That was a movie, and from there it moved further to this thing. Now, coming to the other side of Northeast, Assam. Assam is the first state to start the cinema. Assam had the first cinema by Jyotirmai, by Agarwal,
Jyoti Prasad.
Jyoti Prasad Agarwala. He also faced the same type of problems which Kerala had, because what Daniel has faced the same thing, and he could also complete the film and then finally made, and the actress, because the problem at that time was the actress was of ladies, the lady who brought, and she was outcasted by her own community, and the same thing happened. The Rosie who happened to be in the Vigita Kumaran, she was also outcast, and at that time the caste system was so prevalent in Kerala. Even when he has arranged a screening, the Rosie was there, and the important people there, thrown away all those people, and these things all happened. But later, both these history was made, remake was made. In 2007, the film in Assamese, Aidu, was made by Arup Manna. It is on the same story of what all difficulties he had, that Agarwala, and how he made the film. All those things he has repeated. But Kerala took another 6 years more, and Kamal has made a film called The Celluloid, which was a more popular film, and it was a great success also. And it was again the story of Daniel.
Yeah.
And Kerala has recognized Daniel very late. Now they have instituted an award in his name every year, that J.C. Daniel Award, and every year they give, like Dada Sahib Phalke Award in Government of India giving. Kerala's award is Dada Sahib.
At this point, may I bring Haobam, Paban, regarding the difficulties of a filmmakers, right? Because when you make films in these regional cinemas, as Sir said, that there is a lot of problems which they face in these two regions, and they always, but somehow the Malayalam cinema is able to overcome in a way that type of a difficulties. But what do you see as a filmmaker coming from that part, from the northeastern part of the?
Well, thank you, Asha, for having me in this panel. We were having, I think it's getting over today. We are having a distribution and marketing workshop in Imphal right now, which is getting over today with Bikramjit Roy of NFDC. So I was called as one of the, talker for the class. So I first thing what I told the students was, first we have to educate ourselves. First we have to learn the craft, then comes distribution and marketing. So I'm basically a documentary filmmaker. But then we have always this passion of making fiction narrative feature. So I started in 2016, and now I have done already done 3 feature films. So for me, see, there are difficulties whenever you do something or the
I
other.
can talk about the filmmaking.
Yeah, there are
problems,
difficulties,
or, yeah,
but then
rather
what
than
happened
touching
was
upon the distribution
since
part.
2000, because of the digital revolution, I think suddenly whatever changes you're seeing in Northeast, whatever films are being made nowadays, it's because of technology. Earlier, it was only Assam and Manipur making films in the entire region. But now, if you look at the entire region, I mean, Meghalaya is making around, last year I think they made around 20 feature films. Nagaland is making feature films. I mean, there are films coming from Arunachal. Also, because of the film school, FTI and SRFTI, we have, talents like Dominic Sangma from Meghalaya, whose recent film, Rupture, had a theatrical release in France, and it was premiered at Locarno. And also, you have Rima Das, whose films are traveling all around the world. So all this, I think, was possible because of the digital revolution. And I think it was Manipur which, we pushed for, digital recognition in the national awards and Indian panorama. After that, you know, since it was recognized, earlier it was video films and it was not able to compete.
Yeah.
Then, you
That's
know,
also
then,
because-
yeah, so people started making films.
Yeah, that could be also because there was a time because of the problems, the political problems which Manipur has, and maybe because of that, I think the digital platform also got a little bit more push upon. Was that one of the reasons somewhere?
Yeah, and also I think I mean I can't talk about other states, but then Manipur, I don't know. Anyway, everybody is a filmmaker in Manipur. That's very, very strange. So every neighbor is a filmmaker,
Which is very good as well, right?
yeah. But then what I seriously think is film education is very important. You know, it's an art form which anybody can make a film, but it's difficult to make a good film. You know.
Correct. So at this point, Shahnab ji, I would come on. Okay, not Shahnab. Okay, would you like to take? Yes, fine. Yeah. So at this point, I think it will be good that I bring you in this conversation because what we see is, of course, one part is that we make a film and the other part is how to make these films the go-to films for all the generations to come, right? You have already worked in both in Hindi film as well as, and you have been producing Hindi films, such big films from the Yasraj, from Imtiaz Ali and big budgeted film, as well as you have done film from Janu Barwas, which was a very acclaimed film, but not, we wouldn't, like, you would yourself would like to say that it's not the mainstream cinema in that sense. So how do you make it, all these films in the present context are go-to films? How do you see that?
First of all, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, AalekhFoundation, Cinemazzi, for organizing this conversation. It has the theme of this Anant Samagam actually brings me to this because Northeastern filmmakers have to learn a lot from Malayalam cinema. Because first of all, I've been struggling to deconstruct this mainstream and all of that, because you know, the moment you bracket yourself, it becomes difficult. You're just making your life much more difficult, right? So let's talk about good cinema and bad cinema. In good cinema, there are stories where when we narrate a story to our friends, why does it become interesting? Because it is something that they haven't heard, right? So that is the inherent quality that all the Northeastern states have it, because they have so many stories to say. Social, conflict, everything, every aspect. Now the problem is there is a lack of awareness. Like for instance, having made or worked in the so-called mainstream film industry of Hindi for so many years, when I embarked on producing a film by great Janu Baruah, who's like an institution for all of us, I struggled to find distributors. And it's really sad. And now distributors in Assam, okay, I understand rest of the country may not understand the language and find it difficult. But then there is this whole digital revolution that also brought about the OTT platforms. Now the sad part is none of the OTT platforms buy any film from the Northeast unless there is a one-off Rima Das Oscar submission by India, or maybe a film that has found laurels in an international film festival as being talked about in the international media, but they don't experiment at all. There is no budget for picking up films from the Northeast. So first of all, that's where the problem starts, right? So where do you start breaking the barriers? And I sincerely feel that there has to be a collective, filmmakers, audience, government, all three. You have to understand that in this entire planet, Hollywood and and India were the only private industries. Everywhere else in this world, there is a state or the government's support, right? Why is it? Because cinema is not just entertainment, but it's also the chronicling of our lives. Tomorrow, this will become a reference material. Cinema is very important, right? That's the reason why governments tend to support cinema or subsidize it. Fortunately, in India, I have to give credit where it's due. Since last couple of years, it has become really, really good, thanks to NFDC's efforts or Ministry of Information Broadcasting, but it has not permeated down to the states yet. Now, when it hasn't, this is what brings me to the point that Malayalam cinema, since the beginning, have managed to find that balance. As a community, actors don't differentiate. Oh, I'm going to work on a big budget film because it's going to advance my career. No, they like a story, they will work on it. It doesn't matter whether it's a so-called art house film, social film, entertainer, doesn't matter. If it's a good story, it's a good story, right? And we have been doing the same, if I talk about the Northeastern filmmakers, except that somewhere that the link has not, the two connections have not been made. And I think that is where we need to learn, I mean actively learn. I was having a conversation with Latha here and I wanted to understand. And she gave me a very interesting perspective saying that because, you know, Kerala is a communist state and it has a mixed population and everybody loves, you know, stories about everybody. There is a sort of a uniformity. But then I'm thinking, if I look at it as from a Northeastern perspective, that's the same case. We all are different communities in the Northeast. We all are, have conflict in our history. We have social issues that we want to talk about. Then it's the same scenario. So there is something that, that is missing. And I think we need to discover that till we find, of course, the system correcting itself.
I think this came about post 2010, you know, the new wave, another new wave was born post after Adur Gopalakrishnan and Aravindan and, you know, John Abraham and KG George. We had this, again 2010, a new wave of cinema where they all looked to the Korean cinema and Japanese cinema for inspiration because they knew they had so many native tales to tell. You know, the native stories were very strong, but they had to understand a visual language to communicate it, which helped go beyond borders, which is how all the, you know, the Malayalis got smarter. And they understood that they need to work tight, work with, you know, modest budgets. The great plus point is they have a solid sense of community. They all back each other, you know, and many first-time producers come to Kerala. And so they work, they also are very innovative in how they tell their stories. They believe that, you know, the story has to be told interesting. Why is it interesting? They made a recent film called Vare, which is about the banana tree. The banana tree is called a common tree. It's a story of people, of boys who just are up to no good. Can you make it? They made a film on that. The million boys, it's called a biopic of a million boys who are no good. And it became such a success because there are a million boys who are engineers who have got no jobs. True. So the film became a success. Yeah. So you can make stories on different things. And what is interesting in Kerala is, you know, which is why also everyone is familiar with the Hema committee came. You know, that is another reason, which is another example how they've been in the forefront. They are standing behind each other. I'm also working on a Malayalam feature film and the community is close-knit. They want to help you. They'll say, okay, which actor do you want? Okay, this actor is not coming. Okay, let's look at another actor. So they'll all talk, you know. But the only problem for OTT platforms now in Kerala is when they want the film to do well in the big screen and only then they're willing to buy it. So now Kerala is having this issue.
Maybe they'll figure out that as well.
No, so that is now a lot of filmmakers. We now, like last year, we made 200 films, the same quantity as the Bombay film industry.
And they made big budgets.
The same, no, all medium budgets.
But they made money.
Some of them made money, some of them didn't, but yeah.
Okay. Fine.
I would like to add here when Shahnab Dada has said that we have to, the Northeast filmmaker has to learn from the Malayali filmmaker. I like to add, I always appreciate the cinema culture, cinema activism, festival walk. I really appreciate in Kerala. There is a dynamic in subject matter in filmmaking. But at the same time, if we say that we have to learn, that will be completely wrong because in Assam or in Manipur, among the 8 states, there are 2 states that are very, very far away they have established themselves They have a solid footing at the international map. So in terms of filmmaking, in terms of choosing subject matter, there is a dynamic shades in Assamese cinema, even in Manipur. So I do agree with Shahnab that we have to learn. No, we have to learn that particular aspect about the growth of the culture, but there is no question of learning that particular aspect. We have to separate that part. We have to learn film culture, not about the filmmaking, the dynamic aspects of subject matter in Malayalam cinema, but at the same time we have equally the equal voice. The only problem is that when other Gopalakrishnan sir stands in the queue of electricity office to pay bill, that becomes the headline of the national newspaper. While in Northeast, someone is making film that own best film at the Busan, Toronto, Shanghai, that voice cannot be heard. So we are equally strong. That I agree with that particular point. We need to break that point, remember. Thank you.
Okay, now that you are talking, can I just ask Parthajit to tell our audience about we know that it's a full-fledged industry in itself, but at the same time, the mainstream cinema has somehow created a lot of stereotypical things for the people there, and because of that I think the people are not able to see things beyond it. So how do you see that?
Yeah, before saying how the mainstream, which I like to call the Bollywood or mainstream, are same, but before that I like to say one thing for the audience, that we normally know that the first talkie that was made in 1931, Ardesi Irani's Alam Ara. But many Indian historian, I would like to use the word Indian historian, when I was at NFA, National Film Archive, doing my research, then I met Birsan. He is almost 85. He's one of the oldest film historian in India. When I was talking to him, he did not know one particular point, that Assamese cinema would have been the first Indian talkie in 1932, in 1930, instead of Alam Ara. Why? Because the filmmaker Jyoti Prasad Agarwala went to Edinburgh University, Scotland in 1926. He stayed out there, he learned music. At the end of 1929, he went to Berlin Ufa, where Himanshu Rai made 3 silent films, you know that. There in 1930, in the month of February, he translated his own play into English, submitted the script, and asked the Ufa production house to make the film not as a silent film like Himanshu Rai, to make the film a talkie film. But as there was a financial crisis due to the rise of Hitler, there was a collapse, financial weakness in Ufa. They rejected that film. That was called The Dance of Art. It should be The Art of Dance, but the name of the film, the later they have sent to Jyoti Prasad, was called as The Dance of Art. It is not. That is the historical point. People who are there in the Northeast, in the far corner, in the map, they are shouting. They're shouting in their own language that cannot be heard. So I, as a film historian, young film historian, I'm trying my best to speak loud through my book. When I was writing a book on the history of the Northeast cinema, that was the eight stage, comprehensively written. This is the first book in our country to write 8 states history of the Northeast cinema. In India, there are very few publishers who wanted to publish this book because Northeast. But later, international publishing house Bloomsbury Academics, based in New York, the same publisher published the Harry Potter's J.K. Rowling's book. they came forward and published a book. This is the background of the Northeast, how rich. We have never known the background of the Northeast. Now, that is the reason why Ye Gulista Hamara, when the film was made in 1972, when it was made, Devanand was the lead actor. He was sent to Nagaland, saying that people are barbaric. हिंदी में बोला था, मेरा हिंदी अच्छा नहीं है इसलिए इंग्लिश में बोल रहा हूँ. People are barbaric and illiterate. Go and literate them. Then he goes to Nagaland and he sings a song, Mera naam Ao, Mera pas Ao. There is a tribe in Nagaland, Ao. They were so infuriated with this song, with the representation of the culture, that the director finally has to remove that song from the film, number one. Recently, we have, what's the film called? Anek. Anek was based off the Northeast film. There was no term called Northeast film. So when the film was made, I watched the film. I was just thinking, where is the setting of the film? The director, whom I met in Ajanta International Film Festival, he did not mention the setting of the film. Where is the location, whether it is Meghalaya, whether it is Manipur, whether it is Assam or Nagaland. But as the culture shows in, I could understand that this is the Nagaland. And interestingly, what the farce is that when the police taxi comes, police vehicle comes, the registration number, normally we have Delhi registration number, DL. That registration number is written as NE. You just see how first it is being a mainstream filmmaker, if you so call filmmaker, if you call it. Again, you watch the film Dil Se. In Dil Se, the film is set in Assam. And Monisha Koirala has been shown as an Assamese insurgent. She comes to Delhi on the Republic Day to give bomb among the people. Now, in the history of the insurgency of the Northeast, there is no any such example ever that the insurgent of the Northeast have come out to target the people out of the Northeast. No. If there is an insurgent group in Manipur, that will be in the Manipur. If there is insurgent in Assam, that will be in Assam only. That is the wildest blunder
Mr.
Maniratnam has.
Yeah, that's the critique. You can say that. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
critique, yeah. You can add to that.
Should I go? There are a lot of.
I think we'll
Okay.
just stop
please,
at
please,
that
please.
point because it's being like he can talk.
That is the
and
reason,
talk.
ma'am.
So
Just I want to
that's
add one line.
Yeah,
That is how we want to break that
Yes, absolutely.
wrong notions.
So
yeah.
there is a book which he has written, and you can read about it. Lots of stereotypic things have been has been broken. Yes, sir. You wanted to say something about that?
Regarding the filmmaking, that Mr. Shahnab told that we should learn from Kerala, the filmmaking. But only for the content part, Kerala is okay. But filmmaking is too costly in Kerala. It is the budget will go very high, and the stars. When the stars are coming, the superstars means the budget goes crores to crores.
Yeah, that's possibly.
One second. But in Assam, the filmmaking is so cheap, 10 times lesser than Kerala or other Bollywood district.
Yeah.
One of my friends recently made a film. It is in English and Hindi. It is just completed. He is a man from Israel, well-known film director, and the co-director is Manju Bora. And the film's name is Murders Too Close, Love Too Far. This is the name. And he had a very low budget film, and because he once got that Lifetime Achievement Award, Dan Burman, his name. He came to India, so he wanted to make a film in India on Indian story. Then he made the story and this thing, and he approached many people. Nobody came forward to make it. Is a thriller, and it is a child rape case, and that about 6 years old child rape, and that he had that ambition to make, And then we approached many people in Malayalam, Hindi, every. Finally, he told that Radha, I will make the film in my own budget and this thing. And then finally, I also, after consulting some people, suggested go to Assam. Manju Bora made all the arrangement, and he could make it very. And he says everything is cheaper, transport is cheaper, hotel cheaper, filmmaking is cheaper, and this thing. He could complete the film, and he has. There are only 2-3 well-known actors from Hindi. One is this Ulan Devi, that what was her name?
Seema
Seema
Biswas.
Biswas
Seema
is there.
Biswas.
And then here another person. So Baki, all from Assam, the actors, well-made film. So it will be getting released soon. I think next year you can see it, and it is big. So people should think before making a film, what is the budget, where they can make cheaper. Because Kerala going means with all the politics inside, it will become much difficult.
In some parts, sir, but Kerala film industry, because also the democratic use of technology has helped people work on tighter budgets. And with all emerging artists, you're able to do. But you know, I'd like to end on the commonality between the Northeast and Kerala is what draws us. There's a similarity. I think it is our rootedness to our culture and the land. That is what connects the two states, you know, the Northeast and Kerala is all of us have a sense of earthiness and groundedness which kind of flows into our filmmaking, which is what is helping. And I think that's what is connecting to the audiences today. Which is why the films why people are connecting to Malayalam films as well as films from the Northeast. You all had many films, like you mentioned Village Rockstars, and you mentioned Akone and Three Smoking Ballads. So many films have connected. And Munjia, I want to come to mainstream Bombay cinema, because now they are drawing a leaf out of this kind of rootedness. Munjia is a film which was made in 30 crores, which is unheard of in the Bombay film industry, using emerging talent, using all new artists, and the film has grossed over 100 crores. Now you're having Malayali directors going to Bombay and working. So, you know, there is a transition happening. There is a churn happening in Bombay, and they are looking to regional. They cannot remake films anymore because everybody is watching it in OTT platforms. So, you know, it's a positive for regional film industry, like how, you know, Sairat, like many, you know, you go to many industries, we've had a great history of regional film cinema. And Kerala is leading the path, I would say. But it's very positive for it.
But also, I just want to add, also the way things are done at the government level. I mean, I think you have OTT platforms run by the state, and also, you know, the film school. I mean, that is very important. But I'm also thankful to INB Ministry. The 3rd National Film School is coming in Arunachal, and I think they will be starting this year. I think you can say, it's already.
There's a campus already there.
Yeah. So they're going to start the film school, I think, this month. That is very important. And also, you know, I just wanted to add this whole thing about, you know, even in European countries, you know, cinema comes under culture. And in Kerala also, you have like Sangeet Natak Academy, they have Chalchitra Academy, and it comes under culture. I think we should learn that. Unfortunately,
we're still confused on the
So, but then in Kerala, this whole thing about academy, which, you know, it's really what we can learn.
Yeah. Shahnab, would you like to have the last word?
No. I'm going to pass it on to Latha because there's a very important point out here.
Okay.
First of all, budgets of making film is it's a dynamic thing. Today, just to kind of clarify, sir, because in Assam, there are films being made at 5 crores and 6 crores also. But that has got nothing to do with reaching the audience. What the main purpose or the energy should be spent is how do you mainstream these stories, right? Because like she rightly pointed out that the rootedness of cinema from Kerala and the states of Northeast is its uniqueness, the rootedness, because we have unique stories to tell. Now the challenge is to mainstream them. Now to mainstream them, you have to use every trick in the bag. Now, if you have to club all the states of the Northeast as one for the sake of business of cinema, I'm not talking about the creativity. Stories are there, personal stories are there. Every person has, even in Manipur, the Meitei community filmmaker will make a certain kind of story. Kuki will make tomorrow another kind of story.
Anal is there.
Yes, yes. So now stories are there, right? And I give a very strange analogy, please bear with me. European Union is that concept. They're all different countries, but for the sake of economy or economic power in the world, they became European Union. Now, that is what needs to be done if the Northeasterns together have to make a market for themselves. Like a single Manipuri, Arunachali, Assamese films are not finding the market. OTTs are not. But maybe collectively, the volume goes up and it starts making sense to these business-minded people who are sitting in the OTT platform. Now, that is where I think the Malayalam cinema has managed to find that balance. Because it's a community, whether they agree or disagree doesn't matter, right? But at the end of the day, everybody stands beside each other. They make sure that the films have a certain limit, even in terms of the publicity budgets, right? You don't exceed. Just because you're a Mammootty film doesn't mean that you'll spend 1 crore in publicity and somebody else has just only 50 lakhs. That's the kind of community that needs to be fostered for the sake of business of cinema. Because if the stories don't travel, then it's such a sad, situation because you've made. I mean, on a lighter note, I would like to say that Paban's film, Lady in the Lake, as it's known, that's why I'm using the English title, okay, Loktak Lamberi. It's safe to assume that a lot of people know about Loktak Lake because of his film and his documentaries. Because his films have traveled so well, they know that there is a lake called Loktak. Loktak is very unique, and suddenly that people are very curious about it. Now these stories need to go out. Huko back rook. Latha.
Latha, yeah, please.
And before we conclude, I just like to end on this year's, the film Atom. I don't know if everyone's seen it. It's the one that won the national award this year. And on a bigger note, it's All We Imagine Is Light, which won the Grand Prix at the Cannes. And it's 70% in Malayalam. A Punjabi film director, Payal Kapadia, she chose to make it in Malayalam. And most of the actors are Malayalam. It's practical purposes, it's a Malayalam film. But I see an enlightened future for cinema and video in India because there are so many stories to tell. And like Alam says, we all have to find a collective way of bringing it out to the audience and the world to see it and to relish it. Yeah. Thank you.
I think this is, yeah.
A recent trend is happening in Malayalam cinema. Many people from Bombay or from the Hindi belt, they are coming to produce films and direct films in Malayalam. This is a new trend happening now.
Yeah. Welcome, very, very welcome trend. I think I'm getting lots of from her that we should be concluding it. This is one subject which we think that we can talk for the whole day, and these people, everybody in the panel is authority in them. So we can talk about the whole day, in fact, but we have the paucity of the time. So I think we need to conclude it. And do we have any
maybe one or two
questions?
One or two
questions. Do you have time for the question?
Any questions from the audience? I guess some of your panelists
I
have
think
slides.
they watch a lot of films, and it can be communicated through films. I think that would be the best thing to do.
Yeah, and also some of your panelists are traveling, I think, today.
There is. Okay, then thank you everybody. Thank you for having us on this panel and listening to us. It's one subject. You can always take it back and then keep discovering about it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Lots of important points made. I guess we'll all take it home with us. And may I request Ms. Dr. Rennie Joy, founder of AalekhArts Foundation, and Mr. Atul Kulkarni of Amazing Namaste to please come for felicitations and photograph. Big round of applause, guys.